This One Piece theory will blow your minds. I might actually make Oda change the script with this one. The mysteries of One Piece have been right in front of us this entire time. Welcome back to another amazing theory by me. If you're new here and like weekly One Piece content, then I'd highly suggest subscribing to the channel. In this video, I'll be explaining how Hindu mythology is heavily tied to One Piece's most important events and figures, like Imu, Luffy, Blackbeard, the Great Flood, and the ancient weapon Uranus. What if I told you that Imu is also tied to a Hindu god just like Luffy? The god that Imu is tied to is known as the Rain God. But let's just focus on Luffy for now. We'll definitely get to Imu in a second. Luffy's Nika fruit turns him into the sun god, and Hanuman was the student of the Hindu sun god named Surya. Luffy beat Kaido with his new ultimate attack named Bajrang Gun. Hanuman is known as Bajrang Bali. The clear-cut similarities between the two let us know that Oda looked into Hindu mythology for inspiration. If he used Hanuman for inspiration, then chances are he used other Hindu figures for inspiration. This leads me to bring up another godly figure in Hindu mythology. His name is Indra. Indra is the rain god in Hindu mythology. I believe Imu was heavily inspired by Indra, and Imu also is the rain god. Let me explain my reasoning for saying this. The similarities between Imu and Indra are undeniably almost identical. Imu is the king of the world and resides in a place called the domain of the gods. Imu is the king of the world and rumored to be immortal. He sits above even the celestial dragons. Imu has demonstrated the power they control by eliminating places like Lulusia and erasing them off the map. The people of Lulusia started to rebel against the tyranny thrown at them, and some even sided with the revolutionary army. For this reason, Imu made them suffer for being rebellious. Now, what if I told you everything that I just said about Imu can be said about Indra? Let's compare and see. Much like how Imu is the king of the world, Indra is king of the gods. Imu sits above the celestial dragons known as gods, and Indra sits above literal gods, being the king of them. Imu resides at the holy land of Mariéjois, also known as the domain of the gods. Indra resides in a very similar place. Indra's home is the celestial realm known as Svarga. Much like Mariéjois, this place is the home of the most high-class beings. Both Imu and Indra sit at a throne ruling over these heavenly lands. Imu has been hinted to be immortal throughout the story of One Piece. Emporio mentioned that there was a king back in the day that fits the description of Imu. We also saw in a recent chapter, the viewer watching the broadcast said, "How could there be a war going on from 800 years ago? Who would still be alive from it?" Then, once the viewer said this, the panel showed Imu listening to the broadcast, possibly hinting that Imu is an immortal individual. Well, guess what? Indra is also immortal. Indra drank the immortal elixir that granted him the ability to truly live on forever. This next comparison may be a reach, but I'm still gonna mention it. So we all know Oda and Kishimoto are very good friends, and they always praise each other's work. What if Oda was paying homage to Kishimoto when Imu used their arrow attack on Cobra? The reason I say this is because Sasuke also has an arrow attack. Remember, it was called Indra's arrow. Like I said earlier, I may be reaching, but that would be so cool if that's the reason behind Imu's arrow attack. Now, are you guys starting to see the similarities between Imu and Indra? But guess what? I'm not done yet. Let's compare some more. I guarantee you that this next comparison will blow your mind. We know Imu is the main reason the world of One Piece is being flooded. I believe Imu floods the world every time there are people getting closer and closer to the truth of the world. And if you're trying to uncover the truth of the world, then you are not agreeing to abide by Imu's bidding. Imu wants everyone to believe the world government and nothing else. Now that people are starting to follow the Revolutionary Army, Luffy, and Vegapunk's message, the world must be cleansed. You already know what I'm about to say, don't you? Guess who else caused floods around the world? Indra did. So there was a place called Govardhan Hill. The residents of Govardhan Hill used to worship Indra for the resources that were brought to them on their land. Well, later on, there was someone who got in their ear, much like how Vegapunk got in everybody's ear through his broadcast. That person that got in the ears of the residents of Govardhan Hill and told them they should not worship Indra, but their land, Govardhan Hill. He said Govardhan Hill is the one who blesses you with essential resources, not Indra. The residents then stopped worshiping Indra and started worshiping their land, much like how Emu is angered by people starting to change their perception. The same was the case for Indra. Indra then flooded Govardhan Hill, hoping to erase all residents who lived there. This was because they found a new perception of worship, and he was now not at the center of it. However, the residents survived. They were saved by a god named Krishna. He held them up in the air for 7 days until Indra decided to stop the floods. Krishna raising them up in the air is very similar to how Wano is raised up in the air. I wonder, did Joy Boy know another future flood was coming? So he decided to raise Wano high in the air to save the lives of the future civilization? Only time will tell. I want to mention a few more comparisons between Emu and Indra. Remember when I said Indra flooded Govardhan Hill? He flooded it using a Samvartaka cloud. The Samvartaka clouds are described in Hindu mythology as powerful, destructive clouds associated with the end of an age and are capable of bringing torrential rains and floods. This seems very similar to the weapon Emu is using to flood the world. I believe the ancient weapon Emu is using is highly related to this. We know when Lulusia got destroyed, there was something in the sky above the clouds. So what if Emu is using something similar to the Samvartaka cloud? In Hindu cosmology, the universe goes through cycles of creation, preservation, and destruction. The Samvartaka cloud is said to play a crucial role in the destruction phase, unleashing floods that submerge the world and prepare it for a new cycle of creation. This is the exact same thing Emu is doing. Before Emu lets the D clan get the slightest chance of having a rebellion, Emu would rather flood the world to end this age and welcome a new one. It is said the only people who can stop these great floods are enlightened beings. In One Piece terms, Luffy, the new sun god, is the only person capable of saving the world from this cleansing. Now let's talk about my Emu and Blackbeard theory I posted a while ago. Remember when I said that Emu had Blackbeard's picture because Blackbeard has the same goal of ruling the world like Emu, so Emu sees him as a potential future threat? It turns out there was a similar story with Indra in Hindu mythology. There was a three-headed being named Triceras, who Indra perceived as a potential threat. Did you guys catch what I just said? Triceras had 3 heads. Who else is represented with 3 heads in One Piece? Blackbeard is. Blackbeard has 3 separate guns, 3 separate beard locks, and more importantly, his Jolly Roger consists of 3 skulls. Remember the theory about Blackbeard having multiple personalities? Well, I can say I believe this theory is certainly true. Triceras had 3 heads, and they each functioned differently. He had one for reading the Vedas or sacred texts, one for performing austerities, and one for eating and other worldly activities. We know Blackbeard is also very versatile, similar to the head of Triceras. Blackbeard also reads. He researches devil fruits in his free time. We know this because he researched the dark fruit. He also did research on Law's devil fruit power before ambushing him. I would also assume he researched Law, Luffy, and Kid's devil fruits beforehand, because he said he knew one of them would land on Winter Island, but not which one. When we're first introduced to Blackbeard, we can see him gobbling down food, similar to the Triceras head that is primarily for eating. Triceras and Blackbeard clearly have a connection to each other, and I hope you guys can clearly see it. Now back to the part where I was comparing my theory to the story of Indra and Triceras. In my theory, I stated Emu has Blackbeard's poster, because Emu knows Blackbeard wants to be king of the world. There can only be one person that occupies the empty throne. Emu sees him as a potential threat, and Blackbeard must be eliminated. This same scenario happened with Indra and Triceras. Indra ended up taking the life of Triceras for that exact reason. Triceras' growing influence posed a potential threat to Indra's supremacy as the king of the gods. Fearing the loss of his authority and prestige, Indra sought to eliminate Tricyrus before he could consolidate more power or challenge his leadership directly. This decision was driven by divine jealousy and a desire to maintain his position at the pinnacle of the celestial hierarchy. My theory wasn't actually too far off. My video did pretty well for my small page, so I'm assuming you guys liked it. Well, I think I'm gonna wrap this video up here. What do you guys think about these comparisons? Do you think they are right, or was I reaching? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button. Until next time.